Have our diddly hedge neighborinos, it's the Gemster, and I am presenting round 2 of our black metal roundup from the end of the year. Quick programming note, we all talk about the flood of shit that comes our way with death and black metal releases, just chop, 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 non-stop. But I was a little underwhelmed with the amount that crossed our desk in the last 2 weeks of this most recent year here. I was scoping out a lot of the labels and didn't see as many releases as I expected at the end of December. But big shout out to the Black Metal Promotion channel. We managed to call out 10 together and string them out. I'm going to rip through them and Phil's going to stick some graphics on them, and we do hope you enjoy the programming. If you do, feel free to drop the thumbs up button or the thumbs down button, and either way we will try to write it off on our taxes. And thank you for joining us, and forthwith, the music. Alright, so this one is Omitten, a band from Turkey, EP called Unraveling the Obscure, debut EP. Doesn't look like anyone in this band is associated to any other notable bands, so they're up-and-comers. And what do we got on offer here? So, 4-track EP. I don't want to say generic black metal as a descriptor, because it's black metal, and it's not like some specific striving type of black metal. It's just guys doing some black metal, and yeah, I'm not unimpressed with it. I would give this at least a 5 on enjoyment. Option up to 6. Nothing sticks out as huge dramatic hooks, but that does not rule out future repeated listens. Aesthetic on this one, so logo looks a lot like Bloodbath, and the album cover itself looks a lot like the runner-up entry in a Lovecraft art-themed contest of some sort. It's a little livelier than I traditionally would associate to black metal, but music's pretty lively, so it all fits, I suppose. I'm gonna go with a 7 on aesthetic, and this is probably a zero impact release, the debut EP from a band no one's ever heard of, and handicapped further by the fact of being from Turkey, so very possibly easy to overlook for a lot of people. But that's still at least a solid 4 out of 10 on this one. That is Omitten, Unraveling the Obscure. Really quick, just the song titles. A little bit of that ESOL factor going on in there, but track 1 was called Awareness and Consequences, and I found that awareness and consequences. I called that correctly. I found that a pretty interesting song title, so yeah, thumbs up on Omitten. Alright, so I got Noxifer from the great nation of Mexico with a debut album. This is titled Enamored of Thy Beauty and Darkness, and I looked at that cover and I read that title and I said, this can only be from Mexico or France. It's billed as melodic black metal. I'm not going to hold it against them. So, music on this one is a 6, probably. The composition is really strong. The guy writing this has excellent set of melodicism and structure, and just it is a very well put together album. In terms of the music, the aesthetic, I'm taking it down to a 4. The album cover looks exactly like the guy from Baroness decided to try to sketch out an Alchemy Gothic poster, or exactly like someone from the Alchemy Gothic shop decided to take their best stab at a Baroness style piece of art, and enamored of thy beauty and darkness. Can we tidy that up a little bit, guys? And it's probably a zero impact record coming out of Mexico, and not being anything groundbreaking, but yeah, really good with the music, and there's hope for the aesthetic, but I know a lot of Mexican bands, and I'm not holding out a whole lot of hope for him actually getting that aesthetic under control. Full disclosure, I kind of think I'm Facebook friends with at least one person in this band, so Noxifer, it's named after some kind of plant in Roblox, I guess, so that's that one. Alright, we got here Laspherus from Italy, debut EP. This may be the standout of the batch today. So, information on this band is appropriately scant, but this is the first anyone's heard from them. This one balances an interesting mix of stylistic shifts. The opening track is jangly and melodic, and then it goes from there right into sizzling along a simmering groove, and then that shifts up from there into some other styles, but it maintains a pretty cohesive feel throughout the entirety of it. The vocals are pretty strong on this one, in fact, and could stand to be brought up in the mix a bit. The drums swing in a pretty interesting way. I almost thought of Sarka for a minute in that opening song. I'm going to go ahead and give this at least a 6 on the music. It's a debut. There's room yet to grow, but I see a lot of potential out of this. This could blossom into something really interesting. Aesthetic, I'm going to go an equal 6. The art is actually pretty appropriate to the style, and this one song here is called Patience Shelters, which I find intriguing, but there's a song called Flight of the Moth, and I had to knock 2 full points off from that just because it brought to mind anime girls in black metal or some other kind of aesthetic, like just no moths, man. I'm sorry. I don't like moths either, but leave them out of the black metal. And yeah, Laspherus, so this one's a solid 4, but this is also, again, one that I think is probably the standout of the batch, and a name that I'm definitely going to keep an ear out for going forward. Laspherus, Italy. Dealing with some Dutch wintry stuff here. This one is called Melancholie, and album is called Winterchroniken. It's atmospheric, melodic black metal from the Netherlands, and I haven't bothered to look it up, but if you really want to, it's spelled Melancholy exactly like you expected, except there's an H after the C, and substitute an IE for the Y. Melancholie. And, alright, so I'm trying to balance my own prejudices with some sense of integrity here. This is a fucking hour-long album of wintry, melodic black metal, and I'm barely 10 minutes into it, and I'm like, I've heard enough, honestly. I kind of want to give it a 0 just for a fucking hour. Like, really? But I'm going to go with a 3 on enjoyment, because it is for atmospheric melodic black metal. Pretty well done. And also, I'm notching up an extra point because this would be a really good album to play at your funeral, just despite the people that survived you. And I do have to issue the caveat that if you are into wintry, melodic, atmospheric black metal, you'll probably get a lot more out of this than I'm about to. It, again, is not poorly done by any stretch of the imagination. It just simply does not appeal to me. Aesthetic, I'm going all the way down to a 1 here because it looks a lot like that one Gallhammer album, and it sounds absolutely nothing like that one Gallhammer album. And depending on how you take that, that could be a selling point, but that's about all I really need to say on that one. Melancholie from the Netherlands. I've never heard of them. I don't see any impact on this. I'll give Phil some numbers and he can slap out a score on it, and that's that one. So this one is Streams of Blood from Jan Deutschland, and I'm going to be honest, this is my first actual legitimate exposure to this band because they've got a few albums out, and I totally always just wrote them off as like Streams of Blood from Germany. That's going to sound like Bethlehem, right? It doesn't, actually. I'm kind of impressed. I may have to check myself and go back and follow up on some previous output from this band. You can check me in the comments to see if I actually end up doing that, but I'm going to give this at least a 5 option up to 6 on the music. I find it surprisingly enjoyable. It's generic AF, but nonetheless, it's not. When I say it's not offensive, I mean it's properly offensive. It's offensive in all the right ways. Just not necessarily stepping all the way out of the gate with it. But really solid effort. Aesthetic on this is at least a probably a 6 because it's generic AF. Streams of Blood. I mean, I probably should knock him down a couple of points extra just for the fact that I have been writing him off forever based on that name, and I am not kicking myself incredibly for having done so. But yeah, I'll admit when I'm wrong, and I will possibly check back to hear more from this band. And yeah, we gotta call that one a 0 impact because, I mean, as I said, like, I've just been blithely ignoring him for this many years, and I've never heard anyone else mention him either, so there we go with that one. Anyway, Streams of Blood with, I'm gonna mess this up, Vermelodite, Almaidle, Deutsch. Oh, as we're tonight, we have another standout in the batch, and I might start losing some credibility by my inability to talk some good shit. So this is Oppression from France with a album No Safe Space, and I haven't gotten around to looking this one up yet, so we'll add any notes that are applicable about this band. So if you're someone that listens to black metal for the instruments, or even the sum of the parts as opposed to the intent behind the construction, then this might be up your alley. It's really well recorded. The songs are powerful as all get out. The bass is pretty notable when it pops up underneath those guitars. I'm not really a big fan of the whole wall guitar thing. Vocals are just kind of irritating to me. I give this a 3 to 4 for enjoyment, and the aesthetic on this is actually pretty cool. For an album named No Safe Place, it otherwise is actually pretty appropriate. fit to the genre, and I would go ahead and give it a 7 on that one. So we're probably looking at 3 and 10, and I'm going to call this one a 0 impact. And that really wraps up where I am with Christian from France. I'm not sufficiently oppressed, bro. I think somewhere there's this German band that I wrote off forever because I was like, German? That name, that sounds like it's going to sound like Bethlehem. And I was incorrect on that supposition. Well, this band. So, let me check my notes here. This is Aether, and album is titled Verfallstimmen, Deutsch, and it's exactly like if Bethlehem decided to do an album in the style of Dawn, and I've been listening to some pretty awful music for most of my life at this point in time, and I'm checking out on this one as soon as we're done with this. This is painful bad vocals, even for me. And aesthetic on this one, or yeah, I'm sorry. Let's do this in order here. Music on this one, I'm gonna go 1 to 10, option down to 0. And aesthetic, it's a lot stronger on that front. It's DSBM, which I've said it before. I'll say it again. If gatekeeping was a real thing, I'd lock the gate on you guys. But the cover's kind of cool in a sort of reaching way. I like the concept more than the execution on the cover, but I like the cover more than I like the music. And I'll give them a 4 for that one. And I'm just gonna stop it from there. This is their second album, and if anyone cares, then good on them. But I'm gonna be standing firmly behind the gate there. Aether, Germany. Verfallstimmen. Sorry, Germany. Yeah. Alright, so this one is a collaborative effort, which I generally assumed bands to be a collaborative effort, but this is an interesting one. It is Himberg and Wintergrau, and these are the names of the respective individuals involved in it. So it's kind of like a black metal Hall & Oates, and I gotta say, on every front, this is one I may like to come back to at a greater length. Music on this one, it covers a kind of a broad range of styles within the black metal context, but generally favors the more melodic angle in a tasteful enough way that I'm appreciating it. And the aesthetic on this, I'm going full 10 out of 10. I'm super intrigued by this cover. Just the fact that they opted away from the band name altogether. And so the title on this release, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. But if Phil's feeling ambitious, he'll maybe try to type it out correctly. And yeah, again, it's pretty raw, fairly melodic black metal out of Europe and with a distinct European flair. And I may speak a little more on this anon. Himberg and Wintergrau, thumbs thoroughly up from Jim on this one. And yeah, we'll see what comes out of that. Alright, so this release from Poland. The band is Kra, and I think I said elsewhere about something from a language more closely related to English that I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Well, yeah, watch me make an ass of myself for this one. Good luck to Phil even getting that typed up properly here. I'll tell you the two things that I know about the Polish language. So far as I'm aware, the Polish language is the only Slavic one that uses the Latin alphabet as opposed to the Cyrillic alphabet. Take that to trivia night. And also, some features of the Polish language are such that the name of that guy from the Carter administration that everyone reads as Zbigniew Brzezinski, the father of Mika Brzezinski, that's actually pronounced something more like Zbigniew Brzezinski. So, Mika Brzezinski is totally mispronouncing her own name, but that's not my problem. And back to Kra. I fucking dig this one. I don't remember what I said to Phil in the notes. I know we're getting to the end here because I did send Phil a clip on this album a few weeks back when it first dropped, and I said I dig this. The vocals are pretty impressive in terms of the range, more so in terms of execution than the stylistic choices. It's kind of amateur in terms of placement, patterns, etc., but in terms of just dropping the throat, there's some pipes behind this record, and there's some solid black metal on here. I'm going to go 6 option up to 7 on enjoyment for the music itself, and I give this one a 9 option up to 10 for aesthetic. Cover is vibrant and in a good way, much like another more purple one I think that we referenced elsewhere in this video. It's fitting, but I like the style in this one a little more even than that other one. And yeah, I will very possibly be coming back to this one either just for my own future listening pleasures, or perhaps we'll discuss Kra anon. We'll see what comes out of that. Kra, Poland, and again, I'm not even going to take a shot at that name. So, we're covering this band called Dimholt from Bulgaria, and I remember dropping notes to Phil on this one. So, I'm going to try to think back to what I said about it. I particularly remember discussing the nation of Bulgaria, founded in, the 6th century, I believe, by the Bulgars, who, rather than an ethnic group in particular, were in fact exiled rulers from a empire somewhere else in Central Europe around that time, and they then went on to become an ethnicity of their own, as people do, and I think they have some border disputes with the Romanians, and I'd have to check back on my notes on that. Make a fool of myself talking about Bulgaria, but you can look it up on Wikipedia if you're interested. So, Dimholt, I found the music solid. I think I said probably a 5 on enjoyment. The vocals are a bit indistinct. The music is pretty compelling. Kind of, just, it's black metal, and it doesn't demand any sort of qualifier to indicate that it's a cheap, striving at some kind of thing black metal. It's just doing proper black metal in a competent enough fashion. Aesthetic, probably a 3 or 4. It's red. I do remember something about Norwegian with that name Dimholt, it being a Norwegian reference, and remarking to Phil that there's just that common theme with Slavic people or people from Eastern Europe, bringing in that Scandinavian element. I'm not really sure what that's all about. I would rather just some straight up Bulgar. But there we go. Dimholt. Zero impact, and I think that one I said it was probably going to be unfairly overlooked, especially because it's from the nation of Bulgaria. But if you're interested in what the underground is doing with black metal, then by all means don't miss out on Dimholt. What was this called? Metaform. So yeah, there you go. Dropped sometime in December. Alright, so that was that one. I think we dispensed with all of those pretty justly. And if you made it all the way through, well, thank you for staying with us to the end. I'm Jim Dempsey. That's my man Phil Vandervood. And apologies for the delay on some of those. These are, again, about 2 or 3 weeks worth of releases. But apparently some of the clips that I sent to Phil in the interim got lost in the dryer. So shit happens. Anyway, I'll be back anon, Lord willing, with more talk about what sucks in black metal, what's dead and rotting in death metal, what a nonsense charade this whole thing is, and the likelihood of our ability to even keep this carcass propped up and moving for the future from here. So, once again, Jim Dempsey, thank you for watching, and may not be the happening thing, but that thing be happening. In the meantime, Dempsey dips.